All right, good afternoon. Welcome everyone. It's a wonderful Monday. We're just gonna hang here and just make sure we can welcome everyone to this distinguished lecture by our esteemed guest. Glad everyone is here today. Brought to you today by the College of Natural Sciences, Office of the Dean. Alrighty. All right, thank you, everyone. I just wanted to again just reiterate gratitude to everyone that has taken their time to join us here today. I see everyone here in our attendance pane right there. Very happy to have everyone here. I actually am even seeing a few hands raised, so definitely practice using the raise hand feature. We will have an opportunity today to have here not only from Dr. Camacho, her experiences as an educator in education as well, but we also set aside a period of time so that folks can have some questions and ask her, because she has quite a number of perspectives in the world of education. So we'll go ahead and start. I do see some folks are still joining us. That makes me very, very happy. We are going to actually have our guest speaker starting just in a few minutes or so, but we have a few things that we're going to cover today and a very brief video to help kind of paint a picture about our guest here today. But if I can introduce myself, my name is Roberto Hernandez. I have the great pleasure of working in the Office of the Dean in the College of Natural Sciences. And I work very closely with the Dean, Dr. Sasha Pantula, who is also joining us here among our esteemed panel. And then I also have the great pleasure of also working with Yolanda Thomas, who's also joining us here today, who works in the Office of the Dean as well. We will be joined again by Dr. Erika Camacho in just a little bit. But in order to let's run over a few things, and we have a little short video that we wanted to kind of share with everybody before we get started. So first off the bat, we will have a portion here that will be part where Dr. Camacho will be discussing her experiences that she's had both as a student, as an educator, as a student mentor, and in the role that she plays in advocating for women, for underrepresented groups in STEM fields, in science fields. But we also want to make sure that everyone here in our group has an opportunity to also ask questions. She has had quite extensive experiences in mentoring students, in fostering their success, and really being that voice of encouragement for them to pursue their academic career goals, as well as to continue to strive in fields of science and science relations, in science-related fields as well. But we thought it'd be really fun to kind of get the excitement going. We have two very short videos that we're going to go ahead and screen for everybody. One is from an interview that Dr. Tatiana Camacho, Dr. Erika Camacho, forgive me, did for a PBS affiliate in Arizona. And in that one, if I can, give me 1 second. And in that video, she was speaking at the Hispanic Women's Conference. The title was Latina Power, Inspire, Educate, and Elevate. And one of the things that Dr. Camacho had talked about, which is something that hopefully a few of you had a chance to learn about, is among the many, many academic and professional credentials of Dr. Camacho, one thing that really stuck in my mind was, if any of you have ever heard or seen the film Stand and Deliver, that is a film that talks about a very illustrious math teacher called Jaime Escalante, who did amazing things in getting his students prepared and passing the AP calculus test. Well, if you didn't know that, Dr. Camacho is one of Jaime Escalante's former students. And so this is part of that interview, talks a little bit about that. So I'd like to share this bit of Dr. Camacho talking about her experiences being a high school student with Jaime Escalante, and I believe it's Garfield High School in East LA. So if you bear with me, we'll go and play. It's just going to be a few minutes. And this is where the technical things go, folks, so bear with me. Here we go.
Inspiring story. It began Los Angeles for 20 years. He showed the nation that inner city kids could master advanced mathematics. Escalante was the inspiration for the 1988 movie Stand and Deliver, One of his former students is set to be a guest speaker for the Hispanic Women's Conference in October. With me tonight is Erika Camacho, an assistant professor with ASU's Mathematical and Natural Sciences Department at the New College. Dr. Camacho, welcome to Horizonte.
Thank you.
Yours is quite an inspiring story. It began with your birth and your initial years in Mexico. Tell us about that.
Right. So I was born in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico, and my father died when I was 3 months old. So my mom had to have like 3 jobs all at once, being a maid, and also working at a shoe store, and then also working at a kind of bakery restaurant place just to be able to support us. So she had to manage all that, and then because of one of the employees in the shoe store, she was able to meet my stepdad, and they met and they wrote letters, and that's how they court each other, and then they decided to get married, and that's when we came to the United States.
You moved to Los Angeles.
Yes, my 3 siblings and myself.
And ultimately ended up living in one of the tougher parts of the city, East Los Angeles.
Yes. So we started in South Central, and we lived in a 1-bedroom apartment infested with mice and rats, and we had no furniture. And I remember that I used to love sleeping in between my siblings because I didn't want the mice to crawl over me first. As well as I would get a warning. So, and then we moved to East Los Angeles to a 2-bedroom apartment. It was a little bit better, but it was still in East Los Angeles where there's a lot of crime, a lot of violence.
And there is where you attended Garfield High School.
Yes.
And your story would be remarkable under any circumstances, but what makes it even more special is that you had the opportunity to work or be taught by, inspired by Jaime Escalante, who, as we noted in the introduction, was the inspiration for Standard Delivery.
Absolutely. And my passion for mathematics, my passion for helping others and teaching came from what I learned from Jaime Escalante.
And we just put a picture on the screen of Jaime Escalante with Edward James Olmos, who played him in the movie. How accurate was the movie in terms of depicting the way he taught children, kids, high school kids, and how he inspired them?
I would say would be 85 to 90% accurate.
And what kinds of things in particular? I mean, I know you talk in your bio. It discusses the kind of the tough love that you received from Jaime Escalante. What was that like?
It was great because it was kind of like being at home. It's kind of like being he was like a parent, and he treated us as a parent, and he loved us as a parent in the sense that he had very high expectations. He would expect you to rise to those expectations, and he would not allow you to make excuses. But at the same time, he would assign you a nickname, a term of endearment. So he had nicknames for everyone. And whenever we let him down, he would make sure that he would let us know that. For example, there were many times when he'd say, you burros or mensos, which means you
donkeys.
Yeah, if your ancestors would be here, they would be put to shame again, and they would die again just because of shame. Because they knew mathematics. They invented the concept of zero, and you don't know anything. So things like that. Or whenever I wanted to give up, I remember there were times when he would give quizzes, random quizzes, just to check where we were. And one time, I was just so frustrated, and I just put my pencil down. I didn't say anything, but I just put my pencil down. And he was across the room, and he said, "This Mensa is about to give up. She belongs with all the other cheerleaders saying cheers out there on the field," because I was a cheerleader. And I remember everyone started laughing because he started jumping up and kicking like he was a cheerleader. So I felt humiliated, but at the same time, I said, I'm going to show him. And I picked up my pencil and I was able to do it. And then I showed him, and he said, "Oh, you see, you belong in this class."
And I know in some of the things that you've written about, you talk not only about how he reacted when you disappointed him because of your performance, but even when you did well, he kept pushing you.
Yes, he did. I mean, there were even up to when I went to undergrad at Wellesley College, there were many times when I was about to give up because I just felt like.
And you graduated, obviously, from.
Your brother and sister will get you a job in downtown LA, selling clothes in the alleys in the fashion district. But Jaime would say, "No, Erika, you have an opportunity that no one had. You cannot just walk away."
And one other thing, and you graduated, obviously, from Garfield. We got a picture of you at your graduation. But the other thing he did is he made you sign a contract when you were in the 9th grade.
Yes, he did. He made you sign a contract where it stated that if you got anything below an A in any quiz, then you would have to come on the weekends to learn math for 4 hours. And you would also have to come in the summer. so they could get ahead.
So it was a year-long program.
It was.
But because of those efforts, and you went on to graduate from high school, you ended up going to one of the finest colleges in the country, Wellesley. And then after that, you get a doctorate at Cornell.
Right, absolutely.
What was that experience like?
Going through that, it was hard. It was hard in terms of, it was a culture shock, economically too. But I think what it made me realize that I had an opportunity that I haven't had, thanks to Jaime, thanks to the efforts. Because like I said, he would have us go there on the weekends and in the summer, but he was not getting any more salary for that. And just seeing him how much he gave, and it allowed me to get from where I was and have a new opportunity of life. I just felt like I had this moral obligation, not just to finish, but to do the same for others that Jaime has done. They did for me and for many other students.
And I want to talk about the mentoring that you've been doing yourself. But before that, you graduated from Cornell and worked first at one of the national labs in Alamos.
In Los Alamos National Lab. Yeah.
What's your degree? What's your area of specialty?
So my degree was in applied mathematics, and it was with a focus in dynamical systems using differential equations. But mainly, I use differential equations to model physiological process. So I do mathematical physiology. And my research is trying to understand the interaction of the photoreceptors in the eye, and hopefully to get insight into certain degenerative diseases.
And you've been doing that, first you were doing it at the lab, and since then at ASU?
Yes.
And the kinds of work you're doing, we were talking a little bit off camera. You mentioned that there are different applications for math, not just physiology, but also sociological.
Yes, in society. For example, I did some work. I love to do work with undergraduates because I think it's very important for students to realize that math is not just the math they learn in the books, but the math is everywhere. So with some students, I did research in trying to understand the different drinking patterns in a college campus and how that becomes almost an epidemic. And just with equations and trying to model that and trying to see the different dynamics. And why? Because this way we could get insight. We could run experiments through simulations that would tell us how is it that different patterns develop and what kind of preventions can we put in place? What kind of treatments or what kind of preventions? So mathematics is very important, especially now, if you look at certain things that would be unethical to do or that would be too costly to run an experiment or collect data and see what is going on. And that's where modeling is very important. And that's one of the things that I do. But like I said, there's other applications. And I think I really like applied math because it allows me to see how it's going to impact my community and how it's going to impact humankind.
Now, I want to mention, I want to come back to some of your mentoring activities, but I want to make sure I mention the Hispanic Women's Conference, which is, I know you're on a science panel, but on Friday, you're getting an award. And what can you tell us about that?
I'm very honored. I'm very humbled to receive it. I mean, because what I do it really out of the heart. Like I said, I feel like I have this moral obligation. So much has been given to me. Honestly, thanks to people like Jaime Escalante and other mentors that I've had along the way, I'm standing here with you instead of being in prison or being dead, like a lot of my friends.
Now, when you spoke at his memorial service, what did you tell people?
I basically wanted to thank his family and thank his family for allowing us, for sharing some of his time with us, actually a lot of his time with us, and for allowing us to meet that person, to have that great opportunity. Because thanks to him, I'm just one data point. Many of us got out of that situation and did something really good for ourselves and for our community. And many of us continue to help our communities in different ways, in different venues. Like, for example, I love mentoring students, but I also love creating opportunities for them to advance, to be able to get inspired like Jaime inspired me.
Thank you, everyone. I thought that would be a nice note to go ahead and transition here. Our guest of honor has just joined us, so we'll go ahead and switch on to that in just a moment. But again, we're going to have an opportunity to hear from Dr. Camacho. We welcome everyone. There's a chat feature, there's a Q&A feature as well that we have available that we're happy to go ahead and please have some questions for Dr. Camacho. I'm sure she'd be happy to hear from many of us here who gathered here today. But with that, I did want to take a moment and turn this over to the Dean of the College of Natural Sciences, Dr. Sasha Pantula, who I will give credit for being a tremendous driving force in getting Dr. Camacho to virtually come to campus and share with us her perspectives, her experiences, and her voice with all of you. Dr. Pantula, if you have
Yeah, thank you, Roberto. In the interest of time, I'm going to keep my intro very brief since you watched some of it on the video. It is real great pleasure for me to introduce my good friend and distinguished mathematician and a program director for the National Science Foundation, Dr. Erika Tatiana Camacho. She is a tireless advocate and a role model for women, underrepresented minorities, first-generation students, and future mathematicians and scientists. I have heard her speak several times, including at the Infinite Possibilities Conference that celebrates women of color in mathematics and statistics. You are in for a treat. She grew up around here and got her PhD from Cornell and a professor at Arizona State University. She has many recognitions. I just want to mention one, the most recent one from SACNAS, Society for Advancement of Hispanics and Chicanos and Native Americans in Science, that she recognized for her service. And with that, let me turn things over to my good friend, Tatiana.
Thank you very much, Sastry. I really appreciate it. It's really an honor to be here with you. And please, if at any point you have a question, don't hesitate to stop me. I have a talk that might be too long, so I apologize if there's a few things that I go through really fast. But I wanted to give you some information on new programs that we have that might be really well fit for your institution and that I want you to apply to. So in some of the other ones, I might go a little faster. So I apologize if it's a little long. So let me share my screen so that with no any further delay, I could start, but and why is it not, there we go. So I just wanna say from the beginning that any opinions expressed in the portion of my talk that relates to my trajectory and my life are not necessarily a reflection of the National Science Foundation. And with that, let me start with first telling you, showing you a little video about what the NSF does and what we do.
There's not volume, Erika.
She needs to share her computer sound.
So, oh, the sound is not being shared?
No.
Oh, how do I do that? Because I could hear it. Is there a way? Is there something? Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Erika, go ahead and stop the share. And then when you reshare, select the box in the bottom left corner that says share computer sound and reshare, please.
Share computer sound. Where would that box be at?
When you click share screen and choose the window you'd like to share, on that prompt window, there's a box in the bottom left corner that says share computer sound.
I see it. So I'll go ahead and reselect it. I see.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Big projects. It means taking risks, staying the course, because game-changing breakthroughs don't come quickly.
We have seen what we thought was unseeable.
We focus on the small, where a single piece of new knowledge can advance an entire field or save a life. We are about exploring the world from the top, the bottom, and everywhere in between. We are about big ideas and bold vision. You see the results everywhere. Innovations, marvels, built on a foundation of research we empower. We make the impossible possible. Who are we? We are pioneers, risk takers, visionaries, who stand with the bold at the frontier's edge. And together, we transform the future. We are the National Science Foundation, and this is where discoveries and discoverers begin.
I just wanted to give you a brief introduction to the National Science Foundation in case there's any students in the audience that might not be familiar with it and what kind of work we do and why we do the work that we do. With that being said, one of the things that we are also very interested in making sure that we have a strong, viable workforce and that the workforce represents the populations that we serve. And as data has indicated for a number of years, unfortunately, there are certain populations that are underrepresented in STEM at all academic levels, and that are not equally represented at the table when it comes to decision making of science and the scientific enterprise. And that's one of the things that we focus on in the division where I'm in. I'm in the Division of Human Resource and Development, as well as which is embedded inside the Education and Human Resource Directorate. And that's one of the things that is core to our mission and core to what we do, trying to really build a workforce. But one of the things that we're really moving towards is really trying to broaden participation by creating programs that really promote systemic changes that really last long after the project is done, after the funding is done, that they're really changing the policies, the practice, the culture of an institution. And it's really enabling the entire institution to really change who's at the table, who participates in science, and who gets trained in science. I know that all institutions want to train scientists, and we want to train all of them, but sometimes our practices, our policies, and what is being done is not effectively bringing everyone to the table and training everyone with the same access to opportunities. So we hope that the programs that we're infusing, the projects that we're supporting are actually doing that. So that's one of the things. And that is very much in line with what I've always done, what I've always seen in part of my life, which I'm gonna share with you in a minute. But what is systemic change, and what does that allows us to do? Systemic change allows us to go beyond equality and equity. And this picture clearly illustrates that, and I really like it. If you're just trying to create programs that address equality, then you just give everyone the same, regardless of who they are. And so some of them might still not be able to have access to certain opportunities, like in the picture on the left, with the 3 kids, just because of where they are and who they are. In another one, if you try to infuse equitable changes, then you give different amounts to different individuals or provide different opportunities depending on their characteristics and who they are, right? Their social characteristics and where they are in their pathway to advancement. However, that would require much of a bigger effort, because for every single time you have new individuals that you're trying to help, then you will always have to adjust what you're doing and provide more resources. As opposed to if you do something that is systemic, that really changes, that gets rid of any kind of inhibition or any kind of a thing that is being a barrier, and that is has universal design that works for everyone, regardless of who they are in terms of their intersectionality and their social identities, then you're able to then invest on something that is going to be long lasting and sustainable, and that is going to work for everyone. And that's the picture in the right. So that's really what is about systemic change, that we create something that has a universal design and has in mind the individuals that we're working with, but not just considering one trait, one characteristics of who they are, but all the characteristics, all the intersectional characteristics. At UC San Bernardino, at Cal State San Bernardino, you have individuals that are very diverse and a very broad population, right? And to address all their needs, there has to be a very comprehensive design in whatever is being done, so that all of them are being addressed appropriately. And we understand that that's a huge challenge, but we hope that the funding that we provide would infuse that kind of change, and catalyze that kind of change in the institution. And because, like I said, when you do that, you're allowing everyone to have an opportunity, not just some. So a little bit of background in terms of why am I so passionate about bringing everyone to the table and allowing everyone to have a chance. So I was born in Mexico. I was the fourth in a family. On her own to raise kids that were under the age of 5. In a country where there's not much resources, right? We found ourselves in a very difficult situation often, right? In terms of economic hardships and what I experienced. And I really didn't understand why there were certain things and why things had to be done a certain way. For example, I would go to the evening school because that was the one that where most of the poor kids would go to, and also would allow my mom to get to the job, do some work, and then be able to take me to school and my siblings. I also didn't understand why we all had to have a birthday together, right? When we had our birthdays in different months. And it was mainly because of economics. She couldn't afford, making a party for each of us. So she would make one for all of us. And I also didn't understand why she had to work multiple jobs and I would hardly see her, right? And my oldest sister, who was not that much older than me, would be taking care of all of us. So I really didn't understand. But I think when you're young, you don't understand all the things and how your life changes so much, right? And when I came to this country, I was afraid because I was leaving behind everything that I knew. And I was a foreigner in this country, not just in terms of the language, but in terms of the experience, right? In terms of family, I had to walk away from everything. And it's not the first time that I have to walk for everything, to walk into a place that is new, that offers opportunities and not understanding what those opportunities are. I think about a lot of our first generation students who walk into college for the first time. It's the same kind of experience, right? Or where you have to, for the first time, be away from home, right? If you're actually dorming in the school, a whole new experience. And the same thing when I joined the NSF, right? I was afraid. I mean, I was excited, but I was afraid. And I didn't know if I was ready and I didn't know what that would mean. So I think but what I'm saying is many times those experiences in our life that make us resilient is what really allows us to meet any challenge and overcome any challenge. And it allows us to really define success in the sense that we have been in places where it's been scary. We've been in things where we have had very limited resources, and we'll do the best we can to make the best. And I think that has been something that I have realized that it's part of who I am, but it's a difficult situation. And I'm not saying that it should be that way. And if anything, we should create systems that make it more welcoming to students to join any kind of institution, any kind of classroom, and feel like they fit in, right? And don't feel so scared. Like I said, economic hardships, and that was before. Like I was saying, I was shaped by the environment where I grew up. Those social factors. There was always this kind of bias and stigma that came from where I grew up. But I realized that's where I come from, and it has really been a great strength. Many times people ask, how do you mentor so good? How do you know your students so well? How do you know when there's a need without them even saying something? Because I came from those places. Because I know sometimes when a student, for example, is not able to complete a homework, and I asked, and I'm harsh. I'm like my teacher, Jaime Escalante, so I give them harsh love. So I asked, and I just have to look at their eyes as they're trying to act strong and tell me, well, I just didn't do it, trying to give me an attitude. But I know that inside, they don't have the resources. They don't have the things. I had a student that happened. I had a student who was in the differential equations. It was her first year, very bright student, was not turning in the homework that had to do with a computer component. So I called her to my office and I said, and she was a Latina. And I said, this is the reason why we get that name, that we're lazy, because we don't do our work, and you're not going to do this in my classroom. So can you please let me know what's going on? And I just had to look at her, and she's trying to say, well, I just missed the deadline. And I could see her eyes getting teary. And at that point I said, hold on. So I got my laptop and I ran to my husband's office, which is next door, and I asked him, "Can you please put all my files in a drive and just clean it up because I'm about to lend it to my student." And my husband didn't understand what I was doing. Then I talked to my student. I said, "I am sorry. I am sorry, first of all, for being so strong. And tell me a little bit about your life." So she said that she was living in a women's shelter and with her mom and her little sibling, and that she pretty much was the provider of the family. So I understood now so many things that I had not understood, right? And I brought the computer and I said, "Here, it's for you to keep for the rest of the year, but you have to do all the work in my class, and I want to see your grades for the next semester." And this student continued to be in touch with me. She graduated, and when I saw her in the stage, actually walking out of the actual arena where the graduation was happening, she was walking by herself, going to the park, going to the bus stop. So I stopped, and of course I told my husband, "Take a picture of me with her," and I gave her a big hug, and she said, "Dr. Camacho, you've been the one that has always believed in me. And that's why I always go to you for letters of recommendation. No matter what, you always believe in me." And I think I believe in her because I knew where she was coming from, right? And I knew that there were challenges. I knew that there were things that were bigger than in the classroom. So she graduated, but I think I learned so much from her. And I learned so much from many of my students. And that's just one story. And that I could relate because I've been there too, where no one believes in you. And you just hope that someone will believe in you. And sorry that I'm using my mouse because for whatever reason, my keypad doesn't work to transfer my slides. So hardships, stereotypes, and poverty made aspirations very low for me and suppressed all my dreams. My dream was to be a cashier. That was the pinnacle of what I could achieve. I just didn't want to be a janitor or sell food illegally in the park like my mom did. So for me, that's what I achieved, what I was trying to achieve during my high school years until I met my catalyst of change. Until I met Jaime Escalante, I realized that I had more that I could do. Right. And many people ask me, "Do you really were taught by him?" Yes, I was not in the movie because I came after that, but I was taught by him. And here's a picture of me and being in his classroom. And I learned a lot from him. Not so much.
Well, not too bad.
Sorry, I'm trying to go to the next. Here we go. The slide. I learned from him more than just mathematics. I learned about the power of believing in someone. Right. And not only believing in them, but making sure that you open doors for them. That when they feel alone and when no one wants to fight for them, you are there standing by them and you're there fighting for them and telling them not to give up. I think that's very important and something that we need to stress. So here's a little clip.
Well, not too bad. Erika, good.
Let me see. So I'm sorry, I'm going backwards all the time. And here's another clip.
Then, the way to success. Success means victory. Does not come easily. If you believe in yourself, you're gonna do it. Believing in yourself means you're building confidence. Believing in yourself is a giant step to success. You're gonna do it. Is it right? Yeah. You see, it's simple. How you do that? It's a top secret. It is a top secret. You see, it's easy. It's simple. Anybody could do it. The only thing you need in this class is ganas.
One of the things that I learned from Jaime Escalante really is that ganas, which is determination, right? Discipline and hard work is all you need for success. And I've lived through those principles all my life. And I try to instill that in my students. And but he also had humor. He was that tough love and he would have humor every so often. I remember, for example, after I graduated, when I went to Wellesley College, right, which was an all-women's college, I would still contact him because when I felt like I just wanted to go back home, pack my bags, if I call my mom, she would say, "Come back, mija, your siblings will get you a job in the alleys of LA, downtown LA. That's where I used to work. And I didn't want to hear that, because making $25 on the weekend was not going to be enough. I didn't want it to hear that. I wanted someone that would tell me, you could do it, you could stay, even though people are mistreating you, you could do it. And Jaime would be the one that would tell me that, right? But he would start very harsh. Like, I remember one time I called him and I was crying. I say, they're saying I'm just here to fill a quota, that I don't belong, and they have not even seen my grades, and they're already not wanting to work with me. And he said, listen, Erika, you need to stop that right there. You need to stop crying, because you'll be more fortunate than anyone. That door that opened for you has not opened for everyone. And the minute you walk and come back, you shut the door for everyone, and you have no right to do that. So you have to go there and do your best. You have to show them you belong there. You're not a quota. You're there because you're going to succeed and you're going to contribute in significant ways. And then and as the conversation would go on, the conversation would get lighter. And I remember at the end, he would be joking. I'll be joking with him. And I remember telling him, Jaime, you said that you were going to take me to MIT, because he did that. After one of his students came and gave a talk, I got to MIT, and I was an engineer in one of those engineering research companies, came and gave a talk. And I said, and what happened? Here I am in an all-women's college, not in MIT. He said, come on, flaca. I'm not an exact science. I overshot by what, 45 miles? But I got you close. And he was right. He got me close to MIT. Now, going forward, 20 years after that, right? I get invited to go to MIT as a visiting professor in the math department, right? To go there as an MLK Martin Luther King Jr. scholar, and to be able to teach a course. And I remember when I was walking out of the house, my husband said, Tatiana, because that's my middle name, right? And I turned, and he knew. I had tears in my eyes. And she said, Jaime Escalante took you all the way to MIT. Not in the time frame that you wanted it, not in the way that you wanted it, but he took you to MIT, and even in a better position. So I got there. I sat in the seat where the students sit. I got there early, and I waited for all the students to come in. And once they all came in, I think I waited even after a minute. I get up and I said, wow, it felt great to sit in there. You don't know how many years I waited to sit in that chair. And of course, the students don't understand what I'm talking about, but they're paying attention because they see my passion. I said, I wanted to be in your place for so many years, and it took this long to get here. You guys have a great responsibility. I mean, it's great to be an MIT student, but you don't realize that responsibility you have, because we're looking at you. And there's some of us who don't get that chance. I said, I was too scared to apply when I was going into undergraduate education for college, for undergraduate education. And then for graduate school, I applied and I didn't get accepted. But here I am, and I'm teaching the course. So it actually feels better to be up here. And you'll be surprised, all of them clap, right? And after that, we had a very good relationship where students would even come and ask me questions about what kind of service they should do, what kind of things they could do to help the community. And I think it was good to share with them something that I aspired, that they were actually already there, right? And were able to achieve that. So that's something just to, So like I said, I went to MIT. I went to Wellesley, not to MIT. I went to Wellesley, and it was a place that I didn't really see how I fit in. And while diversity was a big challenge, it was probably the best opportunity I had. Opportunity to grow and really become who I have become, right? And to be able to be resilient and be able to show individuals that have said, I don't belong, or I'm just a quota, that I really belong there, you know? And I mean, and there was always constant thing. Like I remember having professors that, in places where I've gotten A's in their classroom, now wanting to write a letter of recommendation for me, because they thought that I didn't belong in graduate school, but instead I should just go and get my teaching credentials and be happy with that. And later on, inviting me to go give a talk, now that I'm a professor. So I understand when students come and ask me for a letter, and when they say so-and-so, I cannot get a letter from these professors, is because somehow professors, we tend to be humans and we have implicit bias, right? We have made a decision based on a experience with a student in the classroom, and we don't take the opportunity to get to know them better. But what changed my life in terms of wanting to go beyond just undergraduate was an summer research opportunity, which I encourage all the students to try to apply to one, and to do research in your institution, but also to go do research somewhere else, because it's an incredible experience, and it really teaches you how you're not the only one. I went to a summer program where there were other Latinos, and it was the first time that I had Latinos that looked like me, not just as peers, but also as professors. So for me, it was really an eye-opening experience, and it was a tough experience, but I also saw the power of mathematics. Before that, all I was doing was more of the pure math kind of curriculum, and now I was able to do applied math and see how math is utilized to solve certain problems. Like I work on a problem that had to do with HIV, and later on we were looking with on a model created by Alan Person. And that same model came out in the Time magazine the month later after I had finished the program. And to me, it was not the model that we created, but it was the model that we were basing our work on. And to me, that was very telling of the power of mathematics and being utilized to really solve real problems that are big. I also, after that, got in funding from NSF to create my own RU, my own program. And this is when I was a postdoc. I was already writing the proposal, and I submitted immediately as soon as I started in Loyola Marymount as a faculty. And the students that I mentor have gone on to get their PhD. Now they're my colleagues, and they're very, very successful. Like here's a picture with Dr. Kamuela Young, who now is a professor in one of the universities in Hawaii, and is the first Native Hawaiian to get a PhD in applied math. So it really was an incredible opportunity, but I was faced with systemic inequities throughout. Even when I was a professor, I thought, okay, I got there. There's no more question of whether I belong or whether I deserve the spot that I'm in, and not necessarily. There was a lot of hostility. It was a very toxic environment, and I would be reminded of the fact that I was still a foreigner. I mean, students would sit there and even some of them be a little rude and say that I should not give them a bad grade because they paid my salary, and that I should go back to Mexico. And of course, I was already a citizen. And sometimes in a meeting, someone would come in and ask me to go get the coffee. I think they would not realize that I was also a professor. So you'll see that throughout, unless we actually change our institutions, right? And change them to a way that they see a more broad representation at all levels. They don't just see Hispanics and underrepresented minorities being the janitors, being the ones that are at the lower level in the institutional structure, but they're also in leadership. They're also the leaders and the deans and the chairs of departments and the faculty that have full professor. We really need to make that change. But my passion for making a change has gotten me a lot of recognition, which has been really, really nice, to the point that individuals sometimes think that I do more equity work, that's my research area, but my research area is applied mathematics. But I am passionate about equity because, like I said, it's been part of my life and part of getting me to where I am. But to get here took a lot of work, and it took a lot of work from both the individual, myself, and the community. So I didn't get here by myself. I have to say that. It took a lot of individuals working with me, directly and indirectly. Even many individuals that I had never met, who created opportunities for me to take advantage of those opportunities. And that I always very mindful of, that I wouldn't have gotten where I am had it not been for the work of thousands of individuals. And that I have a moral obligation to return that and pay back and be able to allow others to have the same opportunity. And I think sometimes we forget when we reach success, because really mitigating systemic inequities, right? And creating pathways takes a whole community, right? I mean, I wouldn't be where I am. And it takes a community, not just working to create opportunities and access, but understanding the individuals who you're creating access to, who they are, what their challenges are, what their communities are. I had my first child when I was in graduate school. And I remember it was summer and I would wear my big coat because I didn't want my advisor to know that I was pregnant. right? And I remember he would tell me, Erika, are you hot? No, I would be sitting there sweating for 2 hours. But I didn't want him to think that now that I was pregnant, I was going to give up. And so I think when I let him know I was already almost 7 months pregnant, and I think and it's funny because I was very proud of being a mother. I mean, that's part of my culture. That's part of who I am. I'm very proud of my son. But I think the system where I was embedded in made me feel ashamed and embarrassed of such a great moment in a woman's life, right? And even when I had to finish my PhD, I had to leave my son with my husband and my mom in California, and I had to return back to finish my PhD because I knew that I went back initially. My advisor agreed to let me go and see how things would work. And after 3 months, I was not being as productive. And I knew it. So I had to come back. So I would be in Cornell, Ithaca for like a whole month. And then I would go home for a week or 5 days. And it was very painful this is when before they would let you walk all the way to the gate. And I remember I would wait until the doors were about to close and I would hear my son screaming. So I was not there to see his first walk. I was not there to see him say his first word. And it's something that I always regret. But people ask me, will you do the same thing again if you had that chance? And my answer is yes, because I was too close to finishing. And I wasn't going to give up and go somewhere else and start all over. And who knows if I would finish. So I would do it again. And when my son, who was not 21, he graduated already with a degree in electrical engineering. When he was getting ready to go to ASU, right? I'm packing and I'm really nervous. And he said, Mom, sit down. I want to tell you something. I said, great. He doesn't want to go, right? Because he's more of a relaxed person. He's not like me. So workaholic, if you want to say that. And he just wanted to say thank you. He said, thank you for all the sacrifice you made, Mom, because I know that because of you, we got to where we are. And I know that you really instilled in us a value of an education. So, and to me, that meant a lot because for many years, I felt guilty. I felt like guilty for not being there early in his career. But, given my trajectory, given that I lost my father at a very early age, and I saw how hard it was for my mother and all of us, I did not want that for my kids. So I said, if someone opens a door and allows me to walk through that door, I'm going to walk through it. And if they open another door, I'm going to walk through it. And I'm going to keep on walking on that path until I cannot walk anymore. So my attitude is, if they allow me to get the PhD, I'm going to go there. If they allow me to do this, I'm going to do this. So that's been always in my mind. And always looking back to see who I opened the door for as well. So not just looking forward. But like I said, I had a lot of mentors and a lot of people that really inspired me to be where I am and at all different phases of my career and also from different backgrounds with different stories. And the reason why I like to show this picture is to show everyone that mentors and role models don't have to look like you and they don't have to have the same goals that you have. They might have certain components that are similar to yours. What they have to do, they have to understand who you are and where you're trying to get to. That's really what they need to have something that you really value about them, whether it's their career path, whether it's the science that they do, something that inspires you. For me, like I said, really being inclusive has always been a journey and really having everyone at the table of the decision making. So it goes beyond just having representation, but really having those people be there making those decisions, because otherwise we're not going to move forward. As a program officer, I'm able to do that now at a national level. And I'm able to do it with 2 programs that I work with. And I'll talk about them in a minute. But so how does NSF infuse this systemic change, right? Because I mean, if you look at back, NSF has transformed my life. There's been certain critical moments and pivotal moments where NSF has been involved that have been led to the next decision or the next step in my career, right? From when I decided to go to graduate school, that was the RAU funded by NSF. When I decided to take on and start to mentoring others, that was an RAU that now I was running, funded by NSF. And then even doing systemic change more at the higher level for faculty. There was an advanced grant that I was part of, funded by NSF. And then now coming to the NSF and making things at a more national level. So I realized that once I was there, and I started to reflect on what NSF does, is what it has done to my life, but tries to do it by the individuals that apply for those programs. So one of the programs that I work with is the HSI program, which I encourage all of you to apply for. We have 3 different tracks that really allow individuals to do even a planning grant at the very early stage. And the ultimate goal is to have a proposal submitted to our other 2 tracks, or to do something that is bigger, that is institutional transformation, where really there is an institutional-wide initiative to really transform undergraduate education and create systemic change. And one of the things is that we really want to build capacity at HSIs. And no matter, there's no project that is too small, there's no project that is too big. It's exactly what you need in trying to really transform also the institution and the community. That's one of our goals, among other goals that we have. And I will share with you my slides in terms of the program so that you have them available. Like I said, we have 3 different tracks at the HSI program, and we have an upcoming competition August 25th for track 1 and track 2. Track 1 is the planning and pilot project, and it could be all pilot or all planning or a mix. The track 2, which is the implementation evaluation projects. In both, that one is more, you have to have a more already solidified idea that is backed with evidence or literature review, and that you understand the gaps in the project that you're trying to propose, not the gaps in the project, but in the institutional change that you're trying to create, whether it's within a classroom or whether it's with providing some kind of service to the students, but that you understand that's a gap that will allow to enhance undergraduate STEM education. And for track 1 and 2, for both of them, we have different incentives for collaboration. And that could be collaboration with non-HSIs. However, a non-HSI cannot be a submitting institution. They could come in as a sub-award under an HSI. Only HSIs could submit proposals. And but it's to incentivize the collaboration and really leverage from the strength of other institutions of higher education or nonprofit organizations that provide a service that is not in that institution. We also give an extra incentive if that partner happens to be a community college. And then for the track 3 is really the one that is, like I said, is the big one for institutional transformation. And that one, we only take 1 submission per institution and only 1 award per the life of the track. So it's really for those institutions that are ready to do this big change. And there's different requirements that we require now. Like I said, I put them in the slide, but I'll share the slides with you so that you are able to have that as a reference. Another thing that where NSF really instills systemic change includes in really creating a community of learners in a collaborative and inclusive way. They have a lot of different alliances throughout the United States, as you could see here, and many different funded programs that are really creating a change. One of the ones that I would like to encourage you to become a part is the computation, is the CASHI, which stands for Computer Alliance in HSIs. And it's really a great alliance. It really provides service to the different faculty at different HSIs. They also have collaboration with Google and different industries where faculty and students could have an experience working with those companies. And in some cases, I've heard from some of the faculty that have worked with through the alliance through CASHI, right? They have worked and have those are in part of the affinity groups, and later on they have participated in some of their Google initiatives. Then later on they're able to get funding through Google on their own for other projects. So something that I would encourage you to look into and sign up for some of their workshops and affinity groups. We also have the advanced program, which is really about instilling equity, but in the academic level for faculty, right? And our goal is really to broaden the implementation of evidence-based systemic change that promotes equity in STEM faculty, either in institutions of higher education or in professions, where faculty navigate. And it's really to empower the stakeholders to make change. And we really want individuals take an intersectional change to really look at the individuals they're trying to focus on, but also how that intersectional identities interact with the domains of power at the institution or the domains of space where the individuals occupy. So that's something to look into. And we really now are trying to encourage adaptation of evidence-based strategies, either through the adaptation track, or we also have the catalyst track, which allows institutions to do a self-assessment to identify the inequities in the institution, and also identify strategies that they will create and implement within a strategic plan. After the grant is done, there has to be aligned with the strategic plan of the institution. So that is to get them started and get some evidence of what they want to do. And with advance, we're about fixing the institution, not the individual. The individuals are not the ones that need to be fixed. If there's something that is not working, is the institution, the environment, and the practices, and that needs to be changed. And that's what really systemic change is about, looking at the entire system and taking that approach. And this is just some data of some of the institutions that we have supported. More and more, we're getting more HSIs, but we still need to we would love to get more in our portfolio. So please, I encourage you to think about that. And if you don't have any data, because a lot of the adaptation or the institutional transformation one comes with a solid data that tells you where your where the inequities might be, and what some of the solutions might be that you could adapt. You need some data to support that, some institutional data. And if you don't have that, then the catalyst is the best one to try to apply for. And so, like I said, I participated in an advanced institutional transformation. It was a lot of work. Just doing the work itself allow us to reflect on what are the things that need to be addressed, and how can we address them best in a way that it makes sense for our institution. And well, another thing that we have is the AGAP, the Alliance for Graduate Education in the Professoriate. And that is really to increase the representation of minoritized groups as faculty, right? That we have more representation of African American, Hispanics, Latinos, Native Americans, Alaska Natives, and all the individuals that are not represented in science, and that we have them at the faculty level. And that is through creating a model of alliance that could really build from each other and be able to support the students in a more comprehensive way. And that deadline here is already passed, but there's always new deadlines, and they have a new solicitation. So if you have any questions, please contact the program officer who works that program. And there's been impact. We have impact not just at the institutional level, but also at the individuals that have been impacted. Here's a NASA astronaut that was part of the Alliance. And there are some faculty in different institutions that now are creating change as well. And another opportunity where NSF is the coastline and people. And that's really to broaden participation of the stakeholders and enhance some critical components that influence science, and through research, and trying to bring not just problems that are in line with the coast and hazard, but also create leaders that would promote the change on those communities. And it's really about integrating, broadening participation into the values of the things that are being done with the research that is being undertaken. That's one of their main goals. And I hear that it's a little bit about the 2 tracks, but I'll leave this information with you in terms of so you could, if that's something that interests you, or you're working in that area and you're gonna partner with someone who has already a proposal, you could also learn. One of the things that is really good is to go into the award search and see who has gotten awards, what type of institutions, and try to reach out to them as well. Some of them are very nice, will share information with you, and others will not. But you could always just try and try to get that kind of support before you start. And another program that we have is the DARE program, that is really working in disabilities and rehabilitation. Sorry, I don't know why that changed. And rehabilitation, and is really working on advancing research that helps individuals with disabilities, and creating things that will help that community. And I know that this is really fast, so I apologize. I'm going very fast. But another one is the S-Corp program, and they have. If you're an S-Corp state, you are eligible to apply for this. program, and they have different tracks, different type of programs. They have some for early career, some for there are more institutional wide programs. So I encourage you to look at their opportunities. One of the many success stories of S Group is the story of Dr. Tosi, who was a member of the Nine Nation, a Native American, and while raising her 5 kids, which I'm pretty sure is a story that you've heard in your own students, she was able to attain her degree, and now is a successful professor. So it's something that while doing it, she was able to, while doing research, she was able to also attend to the needs of her family. And another success story of ESCOR that involves more an alliance of institutions and institution changing is the work of the institutions in HBCUs that involve Oakwood, Alabama A&M, Alabama State, and Tuscany. In there, they join forces to integrate a program that will work for all of them, and they will be able to get competitive funding to be able to provide more of a research experience for their students, but also for their faculty. And then another program is the GOLD Project from the Geoscience, and that's really about creating leaders and change makers, you know, and really expanding those people that could then go and catalyze more change, in that way broadening participation. So I encourage you to look at that. Another one is the LSUM, or the Lewis Stokes for Alliance Minority Participation, and there's different partnerships. They have target many of the minoritized groups in all the different science. So and they have a model where their model is not just about enhancing students academically, but also providing support from the social perspective, and creating a model that really brings both, that meets the students where they are, both from the academic aspect, but also professionally and personally. So that's something that has led to their success. And they have a lot of alliance throughout the United States. And another one is the TCUP. But TCUP, you have to be a tribal college or be in a university that has 20% or more Alaska Natives, or 10% or more Native Hawaiian, in order to be able to qualify for any of the tracks in the tribal colleges and university program. And in there, they've done a lot of change, where what they actually have been able to sponsor are things that are really relevant to the people they're serving, and in the institutions where, in the communities where the institutions sit. A lot of the research they have sponsor has to deal with sustainable energy, water quality, food sovereignty, things that really affect their communities, which is really nice. And that's something that is a key signature of the TCUP program. Now, I just went through a list of things that are broadening participation programs. And now this is just, and I don't know how I'm doing on time, but just to let you know, there's different types of proposals, different types of funding opportunities that we sponsor at different times. And I want to make you aware that certain things, like a Dear Colleague letter, a rapid, as soon as you see the notification come out and you have an idea, you should write a quick 1 page and send it to the program officer, because that funding goes very quickly, right? It comes in quickly. Those opportunities also go very quickly. And there's different ones, some of them. One of the things that I want to encourage you that we don't see that much of is the career proposals, and that's for all fields, including in education. So all fields sponsor that. If you're early career, please think about doing that. And also, like I said, looking into, if you're in an interdisciplinary kind of program and research, look at which different directorates or programs might be more well suited for the work that you're doing. Another one that we have that is relatively new that I want to encourage many of you is the Mid-Career Advancement Program. It's really parallels with the career, but it's for individuals that are at associate professor rank. So it's an opportunity to be able to enhance and advance your research through different synergistic and mutually beneficial activities, including going to another site to kind of build skills that you need for your research. So even building skills is something that is supported, or even diving into a new research that would enhance in the research that you already have and that you've already done. So, and that's in all areas, including education. And I want to encourage you to submit to this opportunity, something that is relatively new. Another one that I want to encourage you is the Computer and Information Science and Engineering for Minority Serving Institution program. And that is very, very new. And that's really to support our research in this area for minority serving institutions. So the goal is really to broaden the participation by increasing the number of funded research projects in minority institutions that have to deal with computer and information science, and to really foster a collaborative kind of work. So this would be a great thing to try to apply for. And then, because once you have funding from one of the programs in a certain directorate, it's easier to get funding in that same directorate. So something that you might want to consider and looking into it is something that just came out. And sometimes if programs are not, we don't get as many applications, or there's a change in focus, they might disappear. So if this is something that would enhance your work and the research that you're doing, you should definitely apply for that while it's there. Another one is the Building and Broaden 2.0, enhancing social behavior and economic science research and capacity at minority serving institutions. And that's for minority serving institutions, and it's really to build capacity and research in the social and behavioral science. So I encourage you to apply to that one as well. And the last one that just came out, the announcement on Saturday night, is the Research Equity in STEM Education program description. So this is really about supporting bold, groundbreaking, potential transformative projects that try to mitigate systemic racism in STEM, that prevent access and opportunities to certain individuals. And one of the key things or elements that I think I'm very excited about is that for this program, we really want an authentic partnership with the communities that are affected the most. So we want communities that are impacted the most by systemic racism to be at the table from the beginning to the end, and to be in the decision-making power, in the leadership roles, so that that project is really integrated to who is being affected. And it's a project description, so there is no guidelines for funding. You request the funding that you think is appropriate for the project that you're suggesting. One of the things that we do ask is that you put in a one-page concept paper and send it to one of the program officers working with this program description, so they could better guide you and better provide technical assistance as you decide to submit your proposal. So, and then another opportunity that some of you might be already very familiar with is the RUI, with the Research in Undergraduate Institutions. And this is similar to the Research Opportunity Award, right? It's really to build capacity at primarily undergraduate institutions, which and allowed researchers to also have an opportunity to get funding to support their research. So that's something that I encourage to look into it. And the other one is the Research Opportunity Award as well. That in the Research Opportunity Award, you could actually go and do research at a different institution during your sabbatical, say, or during the summer, right? That also allows you to do that in order to support some of the materials that you need to run your lab experiments. Is definitely something, but for that you need to get in touch with a PI so that that is already getting funded by NSF. So now, as I finish, I share a little bit about my life, about what I've done, what NSF has done to really try to address systemic inequities and trying to transform STEM and diversify the entire science. So my question to you is, what will you do as an individual, and what would the institution do, and what can you do? And I think taking advantage of these opportunities, but also doing something that you're really passionate about, will make a difference. And with that, thank you, and I'll stop sharing. I know it was very fast, so I thank you for allowing me to give you this overload of information.
Thank you very much, Dr. Camacho. I'll turn over to the Dean if you wanted to say a few words, but thank you from my perspective. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I mean, this means a lot to all of us. I know you have a very, very, very busy schedule, and I know you were in a oral exam right before this, so we ran a little bit late, but I do appreciate you taking the time to talk to our faculty, our students, not only sharing your own story, but also the excellent opportunity at NSF. It means a lot to me personally, Tatiana, and you've been a good friend to me. I really appreciate all the things that you're doing. The impact that HSIs like minority serving institutions like ours have is the social mobility, and the impact that our faculty and even K through 12 education, what you have shown us, teachers have a big impact on the future of our students. And sharing that is very, very important. And I appreciate that. We are way over time. So we do have Q&A part of it. And I know some of the people had to leave at 3 o'clock. Roberto, do you want to ask one or two quick questions to wrap it up?
Sure, with your blessing, Dr. Camacho, we just had a couple that we had sent. If you give me, let's see real quick. A few of these I think you kind of covered here, but one thing I know that stuck out at me is you mentioned one of the roles that you played is as a student mentor. Could you briefly again address why that seems to be a very critical part, that can play a very critical part in the experience of a student, whether an undergraduate or otherwise? You have a lot of experience in student mentorship and you've gotten awards. Share your perspective on why this is critical.
I think it's very critical in terms of being able to, not, like I said, one thing is guiding the student, but also understanding where they come from, right? And also sometimes the student, many of our students and the students in Cal State San Bernardino are not our first generation, are not familiar with the opportunities that are there, and it's not, and sometimes they lack the confidence to apply for certain opportunities. So I think it's very important to instill in them some kind of sense of confidence and let them take ownership of their education. But they don't do it alone. We need to kind of show them by example, but also by being there with them. So I think it's very, very important. I think especially in the communities that you serve, is very important to have that kind of perspective, because students come from, like I said, from communities that are not typically have been in academia, like their families, or don't come from that dynasty of being in academia, so they don't understand how certain processes work.
Thank you, Dr. Camacho. I appreciate that. And
so one other question I saw is also about the intersectionality for you, that you kind of combine everything. I mean, being a female, being a mathematician, being coming from Mexico, with losing the father so early in your life, so that you combine so many things. What are the biggest challenges? I mean, you share some of them, but what is that inherent strength that our students should know?
I think one of the things is, for example, I think actually intersectionality, I think, is a very strong, powerful analytical tool that allow us to understand why certain individuals experience either certain kind of compound discrimination or compound benefits. So there's not with intersectionality, there is the opportunity also to have benefits, right? Because of who you are, people certain view you as a certain way. For example, sometimes as a professor, having that in the intersectional aspect of as a professor, a woman, I might have certain benefits that other groups might not have. But I think one of the things so it's very important to understand who you are, but also to understand that is what makes certain opportunities enhance or represses the having accessibility to those opportunities is not the intersectionality or the identities of who we are, but is how the environment relates to them and perceives them, how the environment is really either accepting them or not. And I think that has to do a lot with the environment and the institution as well. But we individuals create that environment. So we create that kind of institution at all levels, not just faculty, not just students, but also administrators.
Thank you, Dr. Camacho. And then in the interest of time, we do have one last question that we can wrap up. We have someone saying, first, thank you so much, Dr. Camacho, for sharing your story. They ask, what advice would you give to current STEM students that aspire to go to graduate school?
This would be, first of all, work really hard, because make sure that that you're able to have good grades, because that's unfortunately that's one of the things that will matter. But also, as you're going through your courses, make sure that you take the opportunity to get to know your professors, right? If there's office hours, I know now with Zoom things have become a little bit more different, but take that opportunity to go to office hours, or if there's problem sessions, go there. Let them get to know you beyond the classroom, beyond the papers that you submit or the exams that you take. Let them know who you are. So take that opportunity. And sometimes even being in events, for example, if there's a colloquium, right, attend it, because most likely some of your professors will be there. And also to start to, even if you don't understand anything of the talk in terms of the science, but just understanding the motivation or the work that is being done, eventually you'll start to understand more as you attend more of these talks. So really start to develop yourself as a scientist and think of you as a scientist, but definitely take opportunity to do research with a faculty. Long-term research during the year, but also summer research. That's very, very important, because it'll give you a different perspective.
Thank you very much, Dr. Camacho. And again, appreciate for the time you have to share. Really sticks out to your message about when someone opens that door, got to go through it. So thank you for telling us about sharing that idea, sharing your doors that you open, and also the work that you and others do to open doors for others. Thank you so much, Dr. Camacho. And thank you, Dean Pantula.
Thank you.
Thank you again. I'll be in touch with you and let us know how we can be of help to you as well. Absolutely.
I want you to apply to the programs. I want your faculty to be submitting proposals, and we're there to help you. And one thing that I didn't mention, there is the HSI resource hub that I could put on the chat that everyone should definitely try to join. They have seed money, they have workshops, seed money to start, like to work on your idea and later on be able to submit a proposal. So it's the HSI resource hub.
So just so you know, we do have an advanced program. Dr. Donna Garcia is in the audience. She's the PI. We are a part of the LSAM program also. We have through EHR some of the STEM grants and the IUS grants that our faculty are benefiting from NSF side. And also we have a couple of them from Department of Education as well. But the support is very critical, and I appreciate all the things that you're doing. And the ones that you have shared, the new ones that are coming up, seem very exciting also.
Absolutely.
Thanks again, Dr. Camacho. I'll reach out for the slide info for the program information, and I can distribute that within 24 hours with our attendees and our relevant faculty so they can take advantage.
No, thank you. Thank you.
Well, with that, we're drawing to a close. Thank you. We hope everyone has another wonderful Monday. Thank you for sharing your time, Dr. Camacho. To our attendees here, thank you so much. We hope you found this experience is full of knowledge, heart, and lots of ganas, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Good, everybody. Thank you, Yolanda. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.